Real Estate Show. If you, like me, have wondered how to best navigate this new digital space in which we live without getting distracted with so many shiny objects, actually have a very productive, profitable business, today's episode is going to be wildly helpful for you. Before I introduce today's guest, let me take care of a little housekeeping. If you do me the favor, comment on this, share it, like it. That activity gets it out to more people. And that would mean the world to me. It would say a thanks to me and today's awesome guest. So on that note, let me introduce Preston Schmidli. Preston is a really bright mind. He is the best-selling author of a book called If I Were You. And he's a digital marketing strategist for professional services. So he helps insurance agents, real estate professionals, mortgage professionals really navigate the digital marketing space in a very strategic way without getting lost in all kinds of bunny trails that aren't profitable. So Preston, thank you for being on the show today. I'm excited to do this topic. It's one I'm passionate about.
It's a pleasure.
Good
Thanks
stuff.
for having me.
Yeah, for sure. It was really fun. About a month ago, seeing you highlighted with Gary Vaynerchuk, who's kind of one of my mentors, someone who I've looked up to, who I've been inspired by for some time. Right. I know you were invited to come out, participate in Agent 2021, be on a number of panels. How was that experience before we kind of delve into the topic today?
Yeah, man, I think it was really cool. I mean, obviously it was really cool. It was, it's always fun when you get to, because like you, Gary Vaynerchuk was a very influential person in my journey. It was a few years ago, my girlfriend and I were legitimately in the plasma center selling blood to get gas money to go to the food bank to put food on the table for our kid. Like, that's a very real story for us. And I remember it was Gary's books like that I would actually take with me in the plasma center. Well, you're in there for an hour or so. So it's like, that was my reading time. And so, and there's a long story for that. I was in kind of a business transition at the time, but, so during our darkest hour, I would say, he was one of the mentors for me as well. So to be able to help him with his own event that is, for the same industries that I serve, that was quite an honor. It was really cool too. There was an experience where my business partner and I we were trying to find one of the speaker rooms where, just to kind of make some posts. We were trying to, build a quick content strategy for the next, few hours. And we walked into one of the speaker rooms and it was completely empty. And then Gary walks in with his videographer. It wasn't D-Rock because D-Rock was out. I think he was traveling or something at the time. And then Gary's dad, Sasha, walks in and Gary's mom and his wife. And he literally just starts filming content for his channels. And it was a really cool experience because it was literally me, my business partner, Gary, his videographer, and his immediate family, and that was it. And so it was really cool to have the experience of being able to just coexist and watch him in his natural habitat, and do his thing. So I think that for me that was personally the highlight, and that was incredibly rewarding just to be able to take that in, because it's like, you see him, you see his family on these channels, and the names, who they are, but to actually be able to watch them, and it's like, wow, man, this is humbling, So that was a really cool experience. But like, also, I mean, just being able to share and, see the light bulbs go off in people's heads on the panels. I mean, it was an incredible experience. Like, it was really fun.
That's awesome, man. Very, very cool. We're actually going to offer to those that are in the Think Bigger Real Estate group. We're actually, Preston's offered to give some video recording of him on the panels that are going to have some direct correlation to real estate agents, not just surviving, but thriving this industry disruption. So I'm excited for that, to watch that myself. So thanks for offering that up, Preston. Sure. Let's get into the topic today. Again, there's no question, right? You either have your head in the sand if you don't believe what I'm about to say, but all service-based industries are being disrupted right now. Sure. And the value proposition that used to be is no longer valuable. Therefore, agents have to create new value and be able to share and broadcast that way in ways that people can actually hear it. Phone book ads don't work anymore. Right. So I'm excited to delve in with you here quickly about a couple things that I know you're great at, which is overall perspective of marketing. And in just a couple of minutes, tell us kind of your perspective on marketing, what people should be doing kind of at a macro level?
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in, it's everybody, and it's easy to get sucked into this. And this is one of the things that we spoke about at Agent 2021, which you'll be able to see in the recording, was that it's easy to get caught in, CTR and the click-through rate and CPM, cost per 1,000, and getting on all these metrics and stats. But at the end of the day, there's really two things that matter, and only one's measurable, at least immediately. And the first is ROI, which is actual revenue that you do, right? So if I create an ad, I'm just going to make this really easy. If I create an ad costs 100 and I make 200, I'm going to call that a win. If ad makes $101 and I spend 100, I'm going to call that a win, right? It's free money. So that's essentially the first thing. That the actual return on investment is the first metric that I always recommend. You don't get caught up in vanity metrics, because that in itself is kind of a wormhole where you have the potential to lack productivity, and that's where you fall in the traps of shiny object syndrome. But the second thing is branding, right? So the thing about marketing is it's a very synergetic type of experience. It's a 1 + 1 = 3 type thing. The more you do it, the more it compounds, right? So if I just do one ad, and that one ad is the only thing I do, then I'm going to have limited success. But if I have that ad, and I have a weekly podcast, and I do, a Chamber of Commerce type thing, and I'm doing an ad for the event I'm at, and I'm doing an ad for the like, the more saturation people get, they're going to be, they're obviously going to take note of that. And it's like in marketing and sales they're very corollary of each other. And so one of the things that salespeople will often, and a lot of real estate agents are obviously good salespeople, is they know it takes 12 contact attempts on average to get a sales conversation going, right? They know that most of those sales conversations are going to happen, 90% or more are going to happen within the first 7 days of getting a contact. But there's a lack of saturation, right? We know these stats on the sales side, but it's no different. People need to have a certain amount of impressions of us before they go, you know what? All right. No, it's like 2% of people will buy on the first time they visit. And so most people quit on that. They go, they lean on the 2% and go, this doesn't work. Facebook doesn't work. Marketing's a sham. No, you literally you put all your money on one number in roulette. You can't do, I mean, you can do that, and you can win big if you happen to win, but the odds are against you.
I love that. It really is a matter of patience, right? And trust the process. That marketing isn't designed to get you a deal today. Prospecting is. Right? If you need a deal today, you shouldn't be upset if marketing doesn't do that for you necessarily. Prospecting, go get it, right? But long-term play, to where you don't have to prospect your entire life, I love it. Like, be committed to the process. Follow a model and a pattern that's worked and is working for other people, from mentors, people that are guiding you, that know what they're doing, and trust the process. Commit to the process is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. So one of the, this is the most simple way too, as far as because that is part of it. I mean, marketing, successful marketing requires discipline, and part of discipline is doing things when you don't want to. So this is what I tell people when you're looking to establish, and this should be really any initiative in business, but let's talk marketing specifically. Don't do anything unless you're willing to commit for 90 days minimum. And this is why. And you can increase that number, but you can't decrease that number. This is why. The first 30 days of everything you do are sexy because they're fun, right? We're excited. Ooh, new automation system, new leads. Like, this is exciting. The last 30 days, we see the finish line. We're seeing, houses starting to be sold. We're seeing, policies starting to be sold. Whatever the case might be, we're starting to see the fruits of the labor. But those middle 30 days are where people quit, because I can no longer see the starting point. It's no longer sexy or fun because now I have to do the work, and I can't yet see the finish line because I haven't seen the fruits of the labor. And so it's like you have to commit, because that middle 30 days at a minimum are where the actual hustle, the actual grit come into play, and where most people tap out. And so whatever your business initiative, and let's talk specifically marketing, if you're going, well, I want to try this marketing company, or I want to try using this platform. If you're not willing to do it for 90 days, save yourself the headache. Just spend time with your family. You're going to fail anyways. Like that's true. That's a true sentiment, is if you're not willing to spend 90 days doing something, then just don't spend any, and you'll just save those, all of that time.
Yeah. There's an opportunity cost to everything we do. And if you're not going to commit to it, go
100%.
Yeah, go do something, whether for your personal life or for your business, that you can commit to. I love it. let's talk a little bit about kind of content structure. This is the other topic. Again, with the end purpose of helping real estate agents rise above industry disruption, be immune from it. What do you recommend from content structure?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a misnomer, and I do want to clarify this because it's important I think it's important to be honest. We can't prevent disruption. It will happen, right? That's like saying, just get a longer phone cord to fight off the cell phones. It's like, well, no, I mean, it will happen, right? So when we're looking at this, it's like, how can we embrace it, or how can we make the disruption fit my business model? Now, you can fight that, absolutely, but here's one of the problems too, and this is important, right? I see a lot of agents and loan officers from what we do that will they build a relationship, and on the front of that relationship, they'll send a link to a URL, and that's their version of connecting. If you're going to play that game, you will lose, because you're going to try to play the digital game when you're a local service provider. And there are, like for instance, I'll talk mortgage because we have a system that competes with these big dogs. If you're trying to send a link to your application and you think that you have a better system than Quicken when it comes to sending a link for an application, you're absolutely wrong. Now, what you can do that they can't do is be the trusted local advisor. But you have to play that game. You have to be that person. And that requires you can't just have the instant gratification. Well, I got a lead, so I sent it a link. It didn't work. The lead sucks. No, you have to build a relationship. That's what the person filled out the form for. So, that's one of the things that I always recommend is, when you're building these processes, recognize your role and stay with that. That is disruption, right? Because the one thing that the internet can't reproduce, at least at this point, is human connectivity. And that is your tool. So this is what I would recommend, because you can't necessarily fight the disruption, but you can adapt and thrive. So the disruption is going to happen around you. You got to recognize your plan. First thing I always recommend to people, know 3 things, identify 3 things that you want to be known for. Okay. These are things that people recognize, like achievements or accolades, right? I want to be known for the guy who created the system that changed the mortgage world or the insurance world or the real estate world, right? That's 4. I want to, what do I want people to know that I've accomplished? And then I want to be known as, right? Well, Preston's a really funny guy, right? Or Preston, whatever the case might be, what are 3 things you want to be known as? And those are the 3 things that you communicate in all your messaging, right? So you get to decide what people think about you. The problem with most people in professional services is they don't give people anything to latch onto. So they're just a profile. You might have 1 or 2 reviews. Oftentimes, I've seen plenty of people in platforms where they don't even have a picture. It's just that gray image of a human thingy, And it might have longer hair if it's a female gender, or shorter hair if it's a male. But like outside of that, it's like this like avatar type person. So it's like you want to make sure that you're giving people something to latch onto, right? So once you've identified the 3 things that you want to be known for, the 3 things you want to be known as, that becomes your marketing manifesto, okay? Because people need to know you. People want to connect with you as an individual. And then what I recommend is, this is the content strategy. This is something you can do whether you're 18 and freshly licensed, or whether you're 70 and been in the business for 50 years. Okay. So I always recommend starting off with, what is the one type of your industry that you love? So let's talk real estate. Let's talk luxury real estate, right? If you love luxury real estate, then you need to start saying no to the mobile homes or whatever the case you're selling, right? Like you have to actually define your lane, which requires saying no to the wrong thing. And a lot of people go, well, I have to eat this month. Well, and this is a personal opinion, but I'd rather go to the plasma center and be in my lane than I would be selling off. Because the more yeses you say to the wrong thing, the more you repel the right thing. Okay. And that becomes a downward spiral.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. That was it Steve Jobs said, for every yes or 1,000 no's, that at some point you have to take a stand for who you are and who you want to serve. And I know a repellent for people is that if, for example, you want to be luxury and they see you list a home that's like far from luxury, it plants in their mind that you're actually not who you say you are yet.
100%.
Right? 100%. Doesn't mean that someone on your team can't service that person. Doesn't mean that if you get a referral from a close ally, but maybe your marketing looks different. It's not as, it's not up everywhere, or just learn to say no and refer it out. That's probably a better strategy, because with every yes, there's an opportunity cost. I've learned for myself that every time I'm meeting with an agent, that takes up space. And so that better be a good meeting. That better be a productive meeting. And not all agents are productive. And so I have to be very careful with who I choose to work with, because there's an opportunity cost to that. I could be, sitting and meeting with somebody. It takes the same hour to meet with somebody that'll close 150 homes this year compared to someone who will close 4, right? Same hour.
Exactly.
But the result is very, very different. And typically the person that's closing 150, they hear my value offering different and better. And so there's this whole added layer of that's actually even a better fit. It's not even just the opportunity cost. It's actually a better fit for not just who I want to serve, but who I can serve.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's, and this is the thing. If you have to take the deal, if you have to, like, and this is, real estate's a unique thing, right? Because insurance is where I spend a lot of time doing coaching and training. And the difference is insurance agents are fishermen. Real estate agents are whale hunters, is what I call them. You could get a deal as a real estate agent and pay your bills for 3 months. You will die as an insurance agent if you get one sale every 3 months. Like, you will literally die. You will starve to death. And so, it's a different market. We have to get more deals every month in the insurance world, but it's still the same, right? So it's like, if I want to build that luxury, and this is kind of thing, if I want to build that brand, and you have to take a deal on, let's say, a starter home to pay your bills, take it, but don't make it like, obviously you have to promote the house to sell it, but like, don't celebrate it. Like, celebrate the luxury homes, put that out there, make that your brand, communicate that, right? So this is a content strategy. Once you've defined your lane, you know what you want to stand for. The first thing that you post regularly, 33% of your content should be about the one thing that, if you could do this for the rest of your career, would make you just ecstatic, right? If that's luxury real estate, then that's the one thing that you talk about, okay? The next thing is, because there's 3 parts to this. The next thing is, what's the one thing that you absolutely need as a human being to function? To some people, that's faith. To some people, that's family, right? So if you have a God that you worship, if you have a family that you fight for every day, what is that one thing, your why, that you need this as a human being? That needs to be something that you share. You have to share. Then this is the thing. If you want to be successful in 2019, part of this, and you'll hear this from anybody, if you watch anything from any, Agent 2021 or any other, where any other, marketers are sharing the reality of the situation, it's that if you want to survive long-term, you have to be willing to connect with people. Because if we're not willing to connect with people, then we're essentially giving them a digital avatar, and we're not going to be able to beat the big brands who have the big budgets, right? That's their game. So we have to be vulnerable people. And so make your Facebook profile public. And if you got pictures of your kids, you don't want to share those, make those friends only. That's fine. But for the most of this, make your profile public so people can share, like, connect, right? And then every 3 posts or somewhere in there, try to make a 30-year post about the one thing professionally that you love. Let's call that luxury real estate. The next thing is the one thing that you need as a human being. Let's call that family, right? And then the third thing is, what is the one thing that you like to do outside of work that, if you didn't have to pay bills and if you were a trust fund baby, you would just do, right? And so let's say that's travel or that's flying. That's the third thing. And if you rotate through these 3 things, just on repeat, like, luxury real estate, family, travel, luxury real estate, family, travel. If you can find one thing in each of those categories and just rotate through that, you will have success, because what you're going to end up doing, and it's not immediate. And this is just like you and I talked about, it's a long game. And that's everything. There's no short game anymore. And so if you play the short game, you will lose, always. And so, unless you get lucky, but then it's just deceitful to yourself. So when you're playing this long game and you're going through these 3 categories, the cool part is that stuff starts to get shared in those networks, and you start to attract the other people who like luxury real estate, their family, and travel. And before you know it, not only are you doing more of what you love to do, making more money, now you're actually having fun doing it, because you're not flipping mobile homes anymore, trying to pay your bills, talking to people who like, things that you could that you don't care about at all. Now you're literally spending time with your people, because you've defined your lane and you've given them something to fight for, right? They're going to support you. They're going to fight for you. And the people, and this is the thing too, you have to be willing to be slightly polarizing, right? Like, and it's not about being better than something, but it's about being a professional. A brain surgeon makes more than a general practitioner all day, every day, right? And so you have to be willing to go, you know what? It's not that I'm too good for starter homes. It's that it's not in my business model. So I'm going to connect you with one of my partners so that you can be best served for your situation. And then what ends up happening is that person's going to respect your honesty and transparency. And when they have an uncle or a cousin or whatever that is in the luxury real estate market, they're going to go, you know what? I didn't get to work with him, but they sound like they're dope at this. So you should talk to them. And people start to identify with the fact that this is what you do. So that's really what it's about is defining your lane, letting people know what is important to you in work, outside of work, and just at your core as a human being. And then those people will orbit around you. And then those people will build a tribe around you. And then once you get that audience of people, it just grows on its own as long as you're consistent.
I love it, man. I would even, one thought that came to mind, when you open up Instagram, it shows, and you go look at your profile, it shows 9 images. What I'm hearing you say is that 3 of those ought to be, right, the customer that you want to serve. 3 of them ought to be what you would do if you didn't have to work. And remind me that the other
yeah. So if you didn't have to work, and then the one thing you require is a human being, right? So like this is like, for me, this is more like family. And to be honest, this is also helping people. Like I have to help people. You know, like if I'm not working, I feel like honestly, when I take a vacation by like day 4, I'm like freaking out. Like I have to be working. And so, whatever that is for you, you need to communicate that. And this is what ends up happening though. This is the cool part is people not only latch onto this, but you start becoming more like obsessed with your work because you've given yourself permission to do what you love. And that's huge. Most people don't love what they do. They do it because they have to.
I think more and more as our lives are becoming more transparent because of social media, people want to do business with other people who they not only know, like, and trust, but people that are like them, right? Mm-hmm. People that have the same attributes. And your strategy is fantastic. It's a great way for people to really not only define that, but start to broadcast that. So as you said, you start to attract this tribe around you. Preston, I want to thank you for what you've shared today. This has been really helpful, and I appreciate it. Again, I want to invite the audience in the Think Bigger Real Estate group. Probably later today, there will be a video that we're going to post of Preston on a panel at Gary Vaynerchuk's event. It's going to be gold, filled with all kinds of things to help real estate agents thrive amidst industry disruption. And in addition to that, I would invite everybody here to friend and or at least follow Preston. He's coming up with some solutions for real estate agents that are really going to change the game. And I don't want you guys to miss out. So find him, follow him. And Preston, one more time, I just want to thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure, man. It's been fun.
Great content. Has been fun. I can see why you're on big panels with big names. You're a really bright guy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. And